We're Hassani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships.
This is the Couples Academy Show. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy Show. My name is Hassani.
And I'm Danielle.
We're excited every single morning that we come to you to have a conversation with each other that we invite you into, that we want you to participate in. We've been talking about intimacy, starting this week off with intimacy. We're going to continue that conversation, but we just want to say...
Like, share, and subscribe, guys. Make sure you do that every morning. And when you come on, when you say hello to us, say, hey, my name is, and I'm watching from. That gives us an idea of how far this message is reaching. So make sure that you do that, and we'll acknowledge you on the second half of the break.
Yesterday, we were talking about this conversation of intimacy, and I think it was a good topic because we were talking about things that people can do to restore it. You know, when you're talking about the people who we're connected to in our community who tune in every single morning, they're in different states of their relationship. Some of them are in crisis. Some of them are separated. They've been separated for quite some time. They're trying to figure out how to reconnect and get things back on track. Some live in the same household, but they're just distant. You know, they're just doing life. They're paying bills, raising kids, going to work. But there's just that...
There's no connection. There's no pizzazz. There's no spark. There's no spice. And a lot of people don't really know if there's a problem or not. You know, who set the expectation? Who's ever set the expectation on how true intimacy is supposed to feel? Have you ever had that conversation in your premarital? Has your pastor ever talked to you about that? Has your parents ever talked to you about that? Most cases, no. Right? We're figuring out on our own. So we're sitting in these relationships and we're feeling like something's missing, and that's when our mind starts to toil. And we start thinking, is this working, or am I still in love?
Exactly.
You know?
But you have to know that it's possible. That's why we say you got to surround yourself with people who are in a healthy space, because they become an example of what's possible for you. As they say, we're products of our environment, right? So make sure you place yourself in the right environment. They say that peer pressure is a real thing. So why not take advantage of that and place yourself in an environment with peers who are doing well, who are connected, who are in love, who are intimate, so that you can see not only what's possible for you, but you can begin to reverse engineer what they did to get what they got, so that you can begin to implement what they do, so that you can have the relationship that you ultimately want. I need a beat behind that. See, that was a flow.
Well, you know, talk to the producer.
Yeah, we need to do that. So, but we're talking about the pursuit of intimacy this morning. And I think I want to hold on to that word pursuit. And it's critically important because it requires intentionality. It's something that you have to do. We say this all the time. Listen, marriage counseling doesn't work. A retreat doesn't work. An intensive doesn't work. The book doesn't work. Nothing works. You work. You find out what work to do, and you have to do the work. You work it, and it will work for you. And so to pursue something is intentional. It requires effort. It requires a level of discipline. Some people think, well, we just don't have the connection. I guess this is just not what it's supposed to be. And that is entirely ridiculous. Or some people think that the intimacy that we're supposed to have, like, it just doesn't seem genuine. It doesn't seem natural. You should just get it. I was watching something recently, and they were breaking down how only 1% of the entire population, actually less than 1% of people, are naturally extraordinarily gifted at something. That literally 99% of all humans on this earth have to implement discipline and intentionality and hard work in order to accomplish something. Only less than 1% can naturally just do amazing things.
That's interesting.
So think about it in the context of intimacy in a relationship. Oh, it should just be natural. It should just, well, wait a minute. No, it requires work. It's a skill.
And you know what? That's powerful, because it makes you think about, that means that most of us, 99% of us, have to work really hard at mastery.
Yes.
And how many of us do that, right? Because we do think it's supposed to just come to us naturally and we should feel it and it should just happen. we're not actually committed to mastering or pursuing it. And that's why we don't have it.
Now, here's an interesting point. I was sharing this with a couple. Listen, there are things that are built into the nature of man, but may not necessarily be natural. So let's draw the distinction. Like, we've had 4 children, right? We've had 4 children. They came through you, from me, through you, from me, through you, had them together.
I'll take that.
But think about women, all of you who are women who've had a child, who have breastfed your child, your baby. Did that happen naturally?
No.
It was probably weird, awkward, uncomfortable. You're trying to get the nipple in the baby's mouth. They're biting, they're fighting, they're
not biting just yet, but it's difficult.
It's difficult. It's not. It doesn't feel natural, but it's a part of the natural order of things. So even things that are natural, it takes time for them to feel natural. Does that make sense? So if you're in a relationship with a partner and you feel like, you know what, it just feels so forced. It feels so, I don't know. It's just not natural. It's just not flowing. It's a skill that can develop. And the more that you begin to do it with relative ease to the point where it gets natural. So when it comes to intimacy, whatever that looks like, start the process, because over the course of time, it will flow like you wanted it to in the very beginning. Another point I want to make about this is that if you're going to pursue intimacy, you're making a decision to be committed to a process. And a lot of people throw in the towel, call it quits, just give up too soon in the process. You know, there was another statistic that says, because, you know, most of us on January 1st, we have our New Year's resolution, right? And we all have these lofty goals of what we want to accomplish. But did you realize that January 12th is considered National Quitters Day? That people form goals on the 1st, and by the 12th, they've already quit. So they don't have the staying power.
And somebody thought it was a good idea to make a whole day out of
Isn't that crazy?
National Day out of it.
Giving people a pass to just give up, cave in, and quit. And that's what we do in our marriages. You have to pursue this thing. We've been at this thing for 19 years coming up, you know, pursuing intimacy with each other. So you have to do the same thing in your relationship.
Wow. You know, guys, people put a lot of work into having a national holiday. The National Quitters Day needs to be revoked. No quitting, only pursuit. National Pursuit Day. Did you figure out when that was?
Well, we're going to find it.
Okay.
And if not, we're going to create it.
All right. Well, let's go into yesterday we were wrapping up on some points. And when we talk about pursuit, right, we have to look at opportunities to foster more intimacy. And disagreeing, believe it or not, is an awesome opportunity to foster intimacy. See, the problem is that most of the time, what we do is we get into a standstill and we agree to disagree, right? Even though we recognize that you're not always going to see things the same way, right? We won't always see things eye to eye, but we never have to end at a standstill, because then where do you have to go, right? That's chaos.
Right.
That's a lack of understanding. That's a lack of clarity when we agree to disagree. The power is finding a way to agree to agree, right? Even in the midst of not agreeing about things, because there's so many things that we see differently, there's always something that we can agree to so that we have a direction to move forward in. And I think that's the key. If I can actually be in a conversation with you and we disagree and we bump heads on something, but we can make peace there and say, okay, I don't agree with you here, but here's where we can agree. Here's how we can move forward. That is going to develop some powerful intimacy.
So at the end of the day, you're right. We're not going to see things exactly the same, but at the end of it, we're trying to find a space of commonality where we do agree,
right?
So that we're reminding ourselves, hey, we're still on one accord.
Right. There's a powerful book. It's called what is it called? U Squared. And I think his last name is Pritchett, and he talks about this fly that is literally banging himself up against a window, and he's listening to this fly buzzing at the window and falling into the windowsill, and he gets up again and he's buzzing and he crashes into the windowsill, and the guy is sitting there listening to this and thinking this fly is gonna die right there at the windowsill, when he doesn't even know that all the way across the room is an open window. So it talks about how we get into this standstill and we are determined to have it our way, when if we just looked another way, there's another path, another path that you can walk towards together. And that's the goal.
That is the goal. Mm-hmm. And when you begin to do that as a couple, it's powerful. See, when you operate alone by yourself, I mean, there's only so much you can do. You can be successful, you could be accomplished, but when you have the power of partnership and you're doing this thing together, there's no limit to what you can accomplish. Anything you desire is yours. All it takes is the ability to agree. And of course, to your point, there are going to be things you disagree about, but giving your relationship space for that, and then to find commonality, is the key to it all.
I know we're going to go to a break in a second, but I got to recognize Rick, who says the Pursuit of Happiness Week starts November 14th this year.
Boom.
Thank you.
Pursuit of Happiness. November 14th?
November 14th.
Do we have to wait all the way till November?
I don't think so, but I think it's a great day to recognize instead of recognizing Quitter's Day.
Straight up and down. Like, give me a break, society. Let's get this together. Listen, guys, this is the Couples Academy Show. We hope that you're getting something out of this. We're going to be talking about other practical things that you can do to restore your intimacy in your relationship. So let's get it. Let's go. We want to hear from you on the other side of this break. We'll be right back. Have you been struggling with issues that have gone unresolved for significant amounts of time? Are you desperate for change but don't know exactly what to do? Well, Couples Academy has the answer. The Gottman Relationship Checkup is a clinical tool that scientifically evaluates relationship strengths and challenges through a comprehensive assessment based upon 40 years of research. With it, each partner completes the assessment in 5 key sections: friendship and intimacy, trust and safety, conflict management, shared meaning, and individual areas of concern. This personalized report provides detailed analysis, flags areas of concern, and suggests specific treatment options that we will discuss together. The insight gained from this assessment will help to take you off the road of recovery and place you on the path to fulfillment. If you're ready to experience quantum growth in your marriage, contact Couples Academy today.
Welcome back, guys. You're watching the Couples Academy Show, and I don't know if you guys know about this, but we have the Gottman assessment, we have the Enneagram assessment, and so many other tools that you can use to just help you understand your spouse. And that's what this is about. We're talking about intimacy today, right? It's hard for you to see into me if you don't know who I am. So if you guys are struggling with that, reach out to us and let us know. We can help you with one of those tools. But I want to acknowledge our listeners today. Good morning to Alicia from Newman, Georgia, and Angel. Good morning. Thank you for welcoming us back. Hey, Ken, good to see you. Mike, good to see you. Freddie, good morning. Let's see. J.D. Pruitt, good morning. He's a good old faithful. Louisa, good morning from Alston, Texas. We got Dee Dee from South Carolina. Lakeisha from Charlotte. We got Clarence from Cleveland. We got Rick from Duncan Falls, Ohio. We've got people from all over the place dialing in. I just want to acknowledge all of you. Thank you guys so much for joining us every day. And just don't forget, continue liking, sharing, and subscribing. And tell all your friends and family about the Couples Academy Show.
There it is. We're talking about intimacy, guys, and some practical things that you can begin to do. This is one I know will hit home for each and every one of us, because overwhelmingly, unless you live under a rock, unless you're a part of, I don't know, a religious group that has zero technology, zero electricity, you're gonna deal with this. Guess what? We need to learn how to silence the electronics.
Oh, right. I mean, go ahead, applaud.
Yeah, you got to silence those electronics, because electronics can be a distraction.
Guilty.
You know, that's why it's so powerful when you as a couple go away on a retreat where there's no Wi-Fi, There are no TVs. It's just you and your partner in, I don't know, a serene environment, the woods, the beach, the mountains, whatever it may be. But there's no distractions keeping you from developing a level of closeness.
We need to start treating our clients who come to our retreat center like children, right? When you come into the classroom, here's the basket, drop the cell phone. Because it is so true, before we all were walking around with cell phones 24/7, Wind Shape Retreat, they're good with that. There is no technology, and they really do press it. Don't bring a phone. Don't bring your laptop. You're coming there to connect. You cannot connect with your spouse and give 100% attention to them if you've always got a device, because there's so many distractions. We know it. We wake up in the morning immediately with distractions. And so if we're not focused, we will never connect, right?
Absolutely.
We'll just say, we'll sit right next to each other and we'll have close proximity.
Absolutely.
But we'll be miles away in social world.
That's a fact. How many times do you go on a date with your spouse and you like this? You on your phone, your spouse is on your phone, you're in the car driving, you're on your phone. You're doing something and you're not taking the time to engage with one another. So you've got to create what we would call technology free zones. And you want to do it when you go on the date, unless you're using your phone for pictures and recording things and things of that nature. But even in your home, you want to take the time to turn things off, unplug things, and connect.
I think we turn up when there's no technology, right? We get creative. We actually have to use our brains again. Remember, before we had smartphones, we actually could drive down the street and we knew where we were going. Now you could live in a community for 10 years and still need your GPS. So when
That's
you turn
so true.
It's so true.
Wow.
So when you turn off the technology, you start to become creative. I even see it with my children. When we take the technology away, they're mad for a day or two, but the next thing you know, hint, the next thing that you know, everybody's playing together, writing, they're artistic. So boom, guys, lose the technology. We have a rule on date nights. We can't be scrolling on the phone. On date nights, we're connecting, we're talking, okay?
There it is. There it is.
The next point, be emotionally available. Now, you guys know our story. If you've read the book, you know that there was a time when I was very, very emotionally unavailable. The walls were up sky high. I even had a roof on my wall, right? But it took for Hassani to have serious intention to start to tear down my wall. But I also had to participate. I had to reciprocate by looking up and seeing there's a change. I had to make myself emotionally available to what he was doing so that I could receive. See, it still has to be, we still have to work together. If Hassani was tearing down those walls, doing all the right things, and I was not acknowledging it, I'd still be stuck. We must become emotionally available.
So critically important. The next tip, listen, guys, this is very important. Increase your time together. We talk about in our book, The Audacity of Marriage, how to have a time-rich marriage. I mean, interestingly enough, once we say I do, it seems like time spent in the relationship becomes the least thing on our list of priorities. And so the majority of our time is given to work, then it's given to the family, then it's given to extracurricular, then we got to have our own personal time. And oh yeah, by the way, I'll give you some leftovers.
Whatever's left.
Yeah, whatever's left.
Do some scraps.
So we give the world the best of who we are, and we give our spouses the least of who we are, and then we wonder why we don't have intimacy.
And can I just say, I don't think that that's intentional. I think in one way or another, we are all, both male, female, guilty of that. I think it's about being intentional not to do that, right? Because life causes us to actually give everything, every bit of us, and then we are left with scraps when we come home. Like Hassani and I work together, so we benefit from that. We actually get to spend more time together. But, with children and jobs and traffic, the time, the commute, of course, by the end of the day, you're exhausted, but you have to make sure that you're being intentional about connecting.
And that's why you want to embrace, and we talked about this before, rituals of connection. Right? So there are things that you can do daily. There are things that you can do weekly. And so the 4 components of rituals of connection would be work, play, talk, pray. Maybe we'll break that down again in another show, but it's work, play, talk, pray. Finding time to engage in all 4 of those components, which are rituals of connection with your partner. And when you can begin to do that, all of a sudden there's a level of closeness that you'll develop in your relationship.
Absolutely. How about reading a book together? Now, I remember back in the day, when Hassani and I were dating, we were so intentional. We were going to do this whole thing right, okay? We were reading all the books. We read 5 love languages and all the his and her needs and all these things. Those are excellent tools. Getting together and reading a book together, even if you're not in the same room doing it, right? Because we have crazy schedules. But if I'm reading the same content and Hassani's reading the same content, when we come to bed, we start talking about what it is that we're learning. That is developing intimacy. It's connecting. Because now we're educating ourselves together. What a powerful way to see into you. I know what you're pouring into you, which is a major issue for couples. Sometimes we don't know what our spouse is consuming. Hello? We don't know what our spouses are consuming sometimes. But when we're reading a book together and feeding on the same content, Costa Rica days, Hassani. I mean, the stuff that we would listen to, audiobooks also are awesome, audiobooks and videos online. Pouring into ourselves with education, knowing that he's feeding on the same thing that I'm feeding on. Intimacy, connection.
When you drink from the same well,
Boom.
You're growing together. When you got your own individual thing going on, not that there's anything wrong with that, but if that's the only way that you function, you begin to grow apart in different directions. We don't want to do that. Listen, we got a couple more tips for you, but we're going to take a quick break. We'll see you on the other side. This is the Couples Academy Show.
Welcome back, everybody. You are watching the Couples Academy Show, and you just witnessed a little clip of the Moving Forward program, which is a comprehensive program that we offer for couples who need to move forward, who have dealt with some crisis in their marriage. So we have that available to you. Also, we're so excited. We didn't mention it yesterday, but we have a retreat coming up July 15th, 16th, 17th.
Yes, we do.
And we are going to post something about that hopefully by tomorrow. But guys, put that on, pencil that in on your schedule, because you definitely want to be there. It's here in Atlanta. It's phenomenal. We just finished one up a month or so ago, and it was fantastic. You don't want to miss it. But when we come back with that clip and we show them the video of what we do, they'll understand.
Absolutely.
Hey guys, I want to mention some of these comments. Dee says, good morning from South Bend, Indiana. Thank you both for Couples Academy.
Thank you.
So
yes,
welcome.
you're welcome. You're welcome.
And JD Pruitt says, I was told by my spouse that they know that I love them, but don't know how to love them.
And you know
that's
what?
Powerful, right?
I would say that the majority of us genuinely love our spouse, but we may not necessarily know how to do so in a way that connects with them. And that's why you have to become a student of your spouse.
That's what I'm saying.
You got to have these conversations and you learn. And guess what? Who Danielle was at 22 is different than who she was at 32, different than who she was at 42. So you got to keep learning, because we change and we have different things that we're interested in.
He goes on to say, co-workers and social media get most of my spouse's attention, and it bothers me. Of course it bothers you. And this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When it comes to I love you, but I don't know how to love you, we're giving you the answers. It's intimacy. right? When we even offer something called the intimacy questionnaire. What is it called?
The emotional
needs questionnaire. Thank you for the word. That is a powerful way to get an understanding. First of all, just ask me. A lot of times we don't know and we don't ask because truthfully, we just don't really want to know because there's work involved. And going back to what we were saying from the beginning, people think that this is just going to happen. It's not. I can guarantee you there's a couple of things that are just going to happen. Either you're moving forward in your relationship or you're moving backwards. There's no such thing as stagnancy. At all. Nothing is ever stagnant. And everyone knows that if you look at something with a super powerful microscope, you will see that everything is moving. You're either moving forward or you're moving backwards. And so you have to fight to move forward. You have to put the work in. And these are the tips that we're trying to give.
When you understand energy, there are laws that govern it. And there's something called the law of vibration. And to Danielle's point, things are always moving, even when it doesn't look like it with the naked eye. Like that desk you're sitting next to or the chair you're sitting in, it's actually moving at a very high vibrational frequency. But there are these energy packets that are clustered together that make it look solid. But really, every solid piece of matter is energy. So likewise with your relationship, even if it seems like it's not going anywhere, it's stagnant, it's stuck, not true. It's moving in a direction. Slowly but surely, it's beginning to dissipate into something that you don't ultimately want. So it's time, folks, to get it together. Listen, let's go to the next point. I think this is a powerful point in terms of developing intimacy, and it's seeking a balance between self and couple. I'm going to tell you how important this is because everything that we're discussing is all about intimacy. It's about closeness. It's about coming together. However, in order to truly develop intimacy, you have to sometimes create artificial distance, which creates space between the two of you so that there's a desire to come together. So we talk about the color-coded calendar and how it's important to color categorize your day. There's time you have to spend at work, of course. There's time you got to spend with family and kids, of course. There's time that you have to spend with your spouse to stay connected. But then you need your own time by yourself to, I don't know, get yourself together, to refresh, to regroup, to revive, to restore, to replenish, to become the best version of yourself. And so having that space and time apart actually creates a desire. So those two drives that we talked about, which is intimacy and desirability, are governed by two different things. Intimacy represents closeness, but desirability requires distance so that I can begin to desire intimacy with you. Yeah. So a healthy balance of the two is critically important.
I think it keeps it interesting, right? Like if you're up under me 24/7, there's nothing new to discover, right? We want to constantly be rediscovering our spouse, and this is why we grow together.
All these technical difficulties, what's going on? The camera's on, but it's looking crazy. But we're going to keep the show going.
They can hear us. They can hear us, okay? Well, listen, guys, let's go to the next one. Put together a fun list. This is something that Hassani and I encourage to do at least once a year. We'll even have you do a theme. And we actually have had, weeks and weeks of activities and things that we were planning to do, like eating something adventurous or doing something adventurous. The point is you have to have a list of things that you want to do that are going to be fun and exciting, and you're doing them together. We're talking about developing intimacy, right? We've got to begin to do things and find things that we both enjoy together. Now I can hear somebody saying, well, I don't like the same things that my spouse likes. You know, they like to do this and I don't like to do that. I'm a homebody. They like to be out and connecting. Again, going back to finding something that you can agree upon, there are ways for both of those needs to be met, and you find activities that you both love that serve both your needs.
There it is. I mean, listen, if you just hear what we're saying and you just begin to implement it, listen, we've given you so many tips. Grab a hold of one of them. Whatever one works for you, work it until you begin to see change and transformation in your relationship. We're talking about pursuing intimacy, folks. We hope you got something out of it. We love you. We will see you tomorrow for another great episode.
Hey,
make sure you tune in.
Right. Don't forget, guys, Fridays is Q&A Friday. So I see a few questions come in. We didn't get a chance to answer those. But on Friday, it's all we do. So make sure you show up on Friday with your questions. But yes, we will see you tomorrow.
All right, guys. Take care.
If you would like to be a guest on our show, or if you're interested in one of our restoration programs, contact us today at couplesacademy.org.